Right, I'm going to try and keep this short because just to get it uploaded because it's my last day. It's Sunday, the 2nd of February. I'm back in Iquitos since Thursday evening after the first dieta with Maestro Antonor. So this is to cover the very last ceremony, which was ceremony 95. Now that I know where I am with them all, because I arrived there on night 89 and it was 2 a week for 3 dietas, so it was 6 overall, 6 IR ceremonies. All of them done alone with Maestro in Giorgio's house, except for the last one, because everyone was clean. And when I saw them on that last ceremony day down in the kitchen area, the other group from America with the 5 women and 1 guy, Alexander, which I did a chat with him, which is very dark because it was in my tambo at night. That's all the stuff relating to the last Dieta is in the playlist. Antonor Dieta 1. A lot of it's unlisted, so you won't see it in the video feed unless you look at. So you only see them in the playlist. And of course, that includes my nights in the jungle and everything else. That because everything's unlisted, I don't want them to be open to the general public, just for various reasons. They're out. I've got the numbers wrong. Some of what I'm talking about, it was so confusing what number I was on over 2 phones and everything else, and then I didn't specifically mention at the beginning with what 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 IR ceremony I was talking about. But anyway, it's not important. I just want to quickly summarize the whole dieta with IR 95 because obviously we left the next morning after the ceremony. On the Thursday. So this is Wednesday night's ceremony. And because I saw everybody for breakfast, and everyone's closed, it was no, everyone was still open the morning of the ceremony, but they looked so much healthier, the women, um, and they were all there, so we all had a bit nice chat, saying about the ceremony tonight, and I said, I was going to be in the house on my own. But then when I got back to my tambo after breakfast, no, when was it? It was right before the ceremony. I didn't speak to him, Anton, until the evening. He just came at about 6 o'clock in the evening, and he said, How do are you okay for ceremony? How do you feel about going in with the main group?" I said, "Actually, I'm fine. I don't feel like staying away from them now." Because I thought it'd be a lot easier for him, but it turned out it wasn't just easier for him. He wanted to do it because he was very tired. He'd been working hard in the last 2 days on his house and up and down the river and back to Hanara Herrera, and he's got a lot on his plate at the moment with his mother being sick and his wife having is a bit sick as well with dengue symptoms. So he's had a lot on his plate, and then looking after me and getting the night in the jungle and stripping the bed and carrying all that and up and down in the boat. So he was actually tired, and I knew halfway through the ceremony because he sang Cognac, and it just didn't have the energy. So I think he was actually happy, and of course the experience for me to see Maestro Christian and what his ceremonies were like. So I understand now why their ceremonies were so long getting started. From when I could see their candles being lit at when they get there for their ceremony at 8 o'clock, but a lot of the times they weren't blown out until 10 past 9. And I found out why. He spent a lot of time securing the space, like walking around the Icaro, blowing mapacho everywhere, securing the doors, doing signs up and down, north, south, east, and west, and then the roof to protect the whole Maloka space because it's a big space, obviously. I mean, that Maloka can actually fit 30 people, they reckon. It's about the same size as Temple of Light, and they'd take 25 in there. So they could squeeze in 30 people in there if they wanted to. So there was only the 7 of us, 6 from the group, me, and then Antonor, Rusber, obviously Maestro Christian. Christian's wife, I think, was the snorer because she was in the hammock at the back. She got a chest complaint, so she was getting some private treatment by her husband, called well, I presume it's her husband, Christian. So they seem to be husband and wife. I've never really met her or spoke. You know, don't know her name. So anyway, this elaborate introduction, and then both of them were set up with their little tablecloths on the floor and their paraphernalia, and everyone was going up in the group. So I was on the end of one half, and then there's three girls on the other side of the maestros, and then four of us on this side. And the girl from Bosnia was next to Alexandra. I didn't get a name, but I had a lovely chat with her at the end of the ceremony. She was sleeping most of it. She's very sensitive, a bit like Helena. She was very sensitive, which is, when she had the big dose, which is obviously kick the witch out or start the process of the exorcism of that witch. Um, that must have been horrendous, but I got the full story of that because we had a wonderful chat at the end of the night, which, because again, everything, like Mama says, everything happens as it should when the time is right. Of course, last ceremony, everybody's super clean. Dieta's being closed. So I've got all I recorded that ceremony on my phone app. So that's in the playlist, I think. Um, yeah, because I've limited it so it's maximum volume. I believe anyway. Whatever's up there's up there. So I've got all day today to get remaining stuff up, and then I'm leaving on the 5 a.m. coach tomorrow morning, Monday, back to Nauta, and then get the boat back to Henara Herrera for another 3 weeks with Maestros. He's all paid, so he's back there already. So I've got to be up early in the morning. That's why I'm sort of up. I was tired this morning, but I got up. I stayed awake with the alarm at 7. I didn't get to sleep till 2. It's 8 o'clock in the morning now, so just had my first pint and thought, shit, I better do this last ceremony and just finish this dieta off, and then I can concentrate on the next one. Otherwise, there'll be a hangover. But anyway, the ayahuasca was really weak for me because of the dieta, I suppose. But when everyone was going up for their eye, obviously they're sitting. Maestro Christian was basically did the whole ceremony apart from Maestro Antonori did a couple of Icaros, but they weren't full power. And I wondered during the ceremony, I thought, he just doesn't seem, he seems very quiet. I know it's a big space, but he just didn't seem to have the energy. And it was true because when at the end of the ceremony, more or less straight away, he came over to me. I was sort of lying on the floor and he said, Steve, I'm going to bed. I said, are you very tired, Maestro? He said, yeah. So I think he was happy to not have to do the ceremony with me alone and put some effort in. Although obviously he came over and he did the 10-minute Icaro to close me, which will be in that whole ceremony, which I haven't. Have I? Yeah, I have normalized it, I think. So that should be the loudest Icaro because obviously it was next to me and next to the phone. But Maestro Christian, I was very impressed with him. His voice overall isn't as good as Maestro Antonor's, and he doesn't play a guitar, but he was on form. And there's a nice Icaro I'd never heard, which is up there. That's the. It sounded good on ayahuasca anyway. It was the sort of this Musketeers Espadero kind of Icaro. Swords high, swords low, bashing swords, this kind of thing. It was just dun 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 da 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 da. Very simple, but it was nice. Kind of, add an up tempo thing. That was quite a good one. I never heard that before. I said to him after, I said, "Oh, Maestro, I really like your Icaro." I didn't get the name of it, but obviously could tell from the words, so I just called it the Espadero Icaro. Um, so I cut that, made a separate one, so that's up there as a video, just so Maestro Christian, now that I've actually worked with him, because he's Maestro Antonor's nephew, and he trained under Antonor a lot, and he was alive. Maestro Papa Julio was alive long enough for him to be trained, but he sings a lot of Maestro's Icaros, but mixes them up and also sings the tunes different. So I'm not really interested in learning his versions because obviously even if they're the same Icaro, he cuts them short, but then it sings them differently, different tune, goes into other ones, few sentences from that, and kind of mix. He's got his own style, like they do, which is fine. But he's very powerful. You could tell he was very powerful once he was in the swing of it. You know, as you'd expect, trained under Papa Julio and Maestro Antenor. You know, there'd be no holes in his training, that's for sure. So it was great to have a different experience and give Maestro Antenor a break. But it was very so. Everyone went up for their. They started with the girl at the end of our row, the woman, whatever, the blonde woman, I think it is. But then the girl from Bosnia, then Alexander, and I went up, and because I just sat in front and watching the rest. I just sat in front of Maestro Christian, and he went, "No, you're with go there." And of course, I thought afterwards, "Oh yeah, of course," because the dietas to stop me having the problem that I had, you don't mix your shaman when you're on dietas. So of course I had to just sit in front of Maestro Antenor with his personal bottle of Icaro that he'd whistled or sang his own personal Icaro into for me and just him. So I had a separate Iabrew to the rest. They must have still had that batch that Maestro Christian cooked, which is on the videos. Which was probably a bit stronger. Although everyone was really up tempo, everyone was fine after. But Alexander, he's a star. When that chat, that chat we had on it in my Tambo, because he did it not just a heroic dose. He did 15 grams of mushrooms once. He's had a lot of mushroom experience. So he was still seeing fractals when we were talking, but he was okay. He kept putting his head down. He said, "I'm still fucking tripping," But I wasn't. I had a really mild night, very, very mild. The ayahuasca hardly hit me. It was enough for some visions. Wasn't particularly strong, but I was happy with that. We had to be up for the boat, and I certainly didn't want to be fucking tripping my balls off till late in the night. That's the way the eye has been. The brew that Maestro's done, all the Icaros that he puts in them, they just haven't been strong in most ceremonies, but pleasant. Just for the sake of the dieta, I think. And then, because Boba Sana, I forgot to mention that in the past one. Boba Sana, I think she said, Mama's, when people are on dietas and they're done properly, like yours with the trees, being strong spirits, then, Mama, it's not to do them right, really. It's Mama's, she could do what she wants, obviously, but she's being mild in the effect to not disrespect, because you're already got the tree spirit on board inhabiting you for the dieta. So she's she doesn't, in a way you could think of it that she's not being overly strong as respect for the plants that you're dieting. But it certainly affected the way the visions were. They just had a different color scheme, a bit like you get films filmed in sepia, that brown color, or you get sort of hyper active, fully color. They've gone from the fully colored to sort of like that monochrome, grey purple backdrop kind of visions. I've spoken about the Red Feathers tribe in one of the videos because that was interesting. But anyway, that night, so I don't remember now too much of. I was just speaking to Boban Sarnas from memory quite a lot, but really it's about the chat. Not really interested in what happened in the ceremony. It was more about after, because I got to resolve this whole situation with the nice woman from Bosnia. She's I was chatting to Alex for quite a while afterwards, in his trippy state, telling my stories. He was incredulous. My stories of fucking survival, what I've survived, like my Hong Kong bike accidents. And he was like, "Fuck, man," and all the situations where I probably nearly died drinking that Mama said she stepped in on many occasions. Fucking, oh God, I don't remember most of them. What a good thing. And then later on, a few people left. The maestros were tired. They went, they slept or just went, and everybody left except for, not everybody. There was about 6 of us left. So the group mainly, I think one went straight to bed or left quite early. We were most of chatting. Me and Alexander were chatting quite, having a good laugh, telling stories. And then the girl from Bosnia, she'd had a pretty subdued ceremony. She fell asleep. I walked past her at one point when I went to the toilet. She was by the Maloka doors by the toilets. And when my light shone down, I glimpsed that she was on her side, just like out and quite late on, even when the ceremony finished. And she didn't wake up for probably a while after the ceremony finished. And then when she came round, we were asking her how she was, and then she started chatting. And that was my opportunity. So I asked some strategically placed questions about her experience. She's had 12 ceremonies experience before she came to the retreat. They'd have had two or three or three or what was it, four? They were just there for just over a week. So I think they had four ceremonies. Maybe the last one was their fifth. Not sure, but anyway, I think it was four. And she had 12 previously, so she's up around 16 now at the end of the retreat. But I asked her, I said, oh, so she, we're talking, she said, oh, she's traveled quite a bit. So her history was she's done ayahuasca with that group in America, where Tesha obviously does medicine with that group. The female shaman who's got 5 years experience who didn't sing. She'd worked with a tribe in Mexico doing ayahuasca, but the key one I wanted to hear. She worked with a Shipibo for a few years. Oh shit, just got a message from Joe. Oh, I got 10 minutes, so that's fine. So yeah, she'd worked with the Shipibo, the Oninani tribe or fucking something. But basically, they were a tribe of, well, they were just a family group of ayahuasca shamans. A maestro, his wife, and two daughters, and they were all shamanas, plus the husband. And that's what I wanted to hear, because then I knew she'd worked with the Shipibo, and that fell in line obviously with Papa Julio's story, that she'd been hexed with the name of this drink, which I still never got in the end from Maestro, where they put the witch in the drink. And then, so she's obviously worked with them, she said, for a week. And of course, the worst thing for her was that she trusted them. But, it's a lesson. So, I said to her, she was great because coming from Bosnians, they've got a history. She said they've got a history of black magic. That was never, she knew from an early age, black magic was real. A lot of people in Bosnia. She was from age 5 to 12 through the Bosnian War in the 90s because she's 41, but looks younger. She keeps herself very fit. She does a lot of yoga and stuff, and but she's had hip injuries, a lot of trauma. But basically, I said to her that you went through hell. That screaming. I said, what was it like from your perspective? She said, as part of the visions, she'd been traumatized. It's something to do with her past when she was young, anyway. But basically, in the vision, she'd had her fingers cut off at the knuckles, and then with whatever suffering was going on, mind control from the witch giving a fucking horrendous vision, seems to me, my interpretation of it, because why would you think this? Basically, to get out of this situation of trauma and horrible scenario, suffering in the ceremony, going back with the traumas, she said she decided to self-immolate and she burst into flames. And then that ties in with what I heard, just the words, fire, screaming about fire, which is what we heard in their Maloka. And of course, I'm the only one in our ceremony that speaks English. And I thought I heard fire, or then something like either ice or eyes. So fucking horrendous. Basically, that's what happened to her. She was burning alive in her ayahuasca vision. Fucking horrendous. So that's why she was screaming, as well as obviously up until that point in the ceremony, the witch controlling her, making her sing. Presumably, maybe she knows some Icaros or whatever. But anyway, we spoke a lot about just the lessons of ayahuasca, and she was fine. She's totally clean and just got a great attitude and you know, appreciates the healing and appreciates the life she's got. So anyway, that's what was going on in whatever ceremony it was for. I think it was their second one, so they were in my second week. So that should have been. It was probably my fourth ceremony, which would have been IR 93, but they're all numbered wrong. But anyway, so that's what went on. So anyway, it was all resolved. And then breakfast the next morning. Didn't get a chance to say bye to them. They wanted me in the photograph, but I had to pack a few last things up because they were in a separate boat and they were getting the slow boat back to Iquitos from Nauta. And of course, we don't go to the port. We pull up on the river right behind Maestro's house and walk up the bank into his house. And then I spent the morning from about 11 o'clock in the morning till 1 sitting outside, sorting out money on my phone and whatnot, watching, you know, this, that, and the other. And then we got the boat back to Nauta, and then I found out that was a fucking run around because I ended up going around Nauta thinking I was giving Maestro some money. There's no cash points that give anything, any dollars. And the cash point machines are in English and Castellano, which is what Roberto had said. That area has a lot of Castellano influence in the Spanish. So the cash point machine actually didn't have English and Spanish, it had English and Castellano. I thought, oh, that's fucking interesting. But it could only give me 400 soles. So, and then when I get back to I said, oh, Maestro, don't worry about the bus because he paid for it. I said, look, if I've got to give money, and Nauta was a shithole, didn't like it at all, what I saw of it. Fucking horrible. Couldn't find a bank anywhere, running around fucking 4 different places, all closed except one, and then could only get 400 soles. So then next thing, we keep getting for a taxi. The taxi cost 70 soles for just the two of us, full price, obviously. Normally they take four to be sort of 20 soles each or whatever. So, and then Mudge said, oh no, I'm coming back to Iquitos for whatever reason, because he only stayed one night and then left the next day, but he had something to do, I don't know. But at least I reminded him to get some new guitar strings, because his are fucked on that guitar. They're rusted to fuck and they sound shit and they're really hard to play. But he went, oh, yeah, good idea. And of course, he had a fucking wad full of mega cash after I'd taken all the money out for his dieta. So anyway, that's all paid. Um, so I'm off back tomorrow. So that's that. So that'll do. I'll get this video up and now I'm gonna talk to Joe.